It is time to expand minds through movies, TV, sports, and flicks. It is time to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. It is time for the Captain Talks Flicks.
The Captain Talk Flicks.
Welcome to the Captain Talks Flicks podcast. I'm your host, the Captain Cortez, aka Mr. Love, and this is where we talk flicks. And ladies and gentlemen, this past week I went back to the great game. I went back to the international world of spying. It's my favorite genre, so I'm back there. I'm gonna get into that. First couple things. I want to give a big shout out to Washington, D.C. Got some plays from Washington, D.C. this past week. Gracias, gratitude, toraba. In Washington, D.C., I've always wanted to travel to your city and go see a Nats game, maybe visit the Spy Museum and see some more of the sites. Yeah, one of these days I'm definitely going to do that. I'm going to go over there and see the sites and probably do a podcast from there. So thanks for listening, gracias, gratitude. And additionally, this episode is brought to you by the album called The Spacemen by the one and only Sun Tzu Cosmic and Ek Olip. They construct the album called The Spaceman with crazy electronic beats. I guarantee you never heard nothing like it in your life. So if you want to hear the album, The Spaceman, I'll put the link below. Check it out. Now, let's get on the podcast. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, I chose to accept the mission that was impossible. I'm continuing my binge of Mission Impossible because I'm going to see Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning today, bro. The last in the series, I think it's number 8, right? Let's see that. So I went and binged all of them. I just watched Fallout. And let me just say this binge has been absolutely magnificent. These are some of the finest action spy movies I've ever seen in my life. They're fantastic. Only comparable to the one and only James Bond. And maybe in the future, we'll get a team up. But anyways, this installment of Mission Impossible finds Ethan Hunt dealing with someone that he thought he already dealt with. Right? He's battling an enemy that he just battled the last movie. So they beat him last movie, but he is back. Yeah, so this movie's phenomenal. The action scenes are just absolute madness. It's what you expect to get from a Mission Impossible movie, but also just a Tom Cruise movie in general. Tom Cruise brings absolute madness to movie theater. But anyways, you'll find this Mission Impossible Fallout phenomenal. But what I want to do is dig a little deeper into some of the movie. And that is the fact that the villain from the last movie is back again. And when I saw that, it reminded me of real life. Because as we navigate our lives, we may have thinking we've beaten something or got done with something in the past, whatever it is, relationships, habits, etc. We may have think we've beat them and conquered them. But sometimes things that we thought we've conquered once come back again, and again, multiple times. And personally, I've experienced this many times. There's been many points in my life where I thought something was done, but I came back and had to face it again. And I'll be honest with you, it's not always pleasant, especially if it was something you had dealt with that was extremely difficult, and you got past it, but it came back, right? And it's just not something that is the most pleasant thing to do. And a lot of people don't even want to deal with it. They might numb themselves out with certain chemicals or substances just to avoid and think about it. I know a lot of us do that. I've done that in the past, honestly. But you know who's not doing it? Ethan Hunt. Ethan Hunt runs right into the danger, right at it. He will not stop. Like I said last podcast, he will not stop until the mission is accomplished. He just keeps going and pushing forward. It will not stop. He will not give up. He just goes hard. And like I said last episode, this is very inspirational. Because as we navigate our lives, there will be challenges. And what are you going to do? You can lay down and sob and cry and then drink yourself to sleep or whatever. You could soothe the past for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you got to do. But if you want to get to that next level in the space, you want to be like Ethan Hunt, and you want to complete the mission, you have to push forward. And now Ethan Hunt thought he beat the villain last movie, but guess what? He came back. And he's like, all right, he's back, whatever. This is going to handle his business again. I assemble my team. I trust these people. You have to trust me one more time, and we're going to handle this business. In fact, for the last 6 movies, all Ethan has been doing is assemble his team and push it forward and handle the business. He's like, let's get this done. Right? Straight up. One quote from Ethan Hunt that I absolutely love, and I've used in my daily life quite a bit over the last 5, 6, 7 years, and I never realized it was an Ethan Hunt quote, is he says these words, I'll figure it out. So these problems come up and Benji's, he's like, hey, this is like, what's going on? What do you to do? He's like, I'll figure it out. He said, I'll just figure it out. And I'll be honest with you, as I navigate my life, there has been moments I've said those very words. I'll figure it out. You know, I've had jobs, they say, oh, I do this. I said, I'll figure it out. In fact, I stopped even asking questions. I said, I'll just figure it out. And a lot of times, navigating problems, sometimes you just have to do that. Now, obviously, you want to be highly trained and skilled in what you do. And you want to have as much information and knowledge as possible when you approach and tackle issues that come with your personal life, professional life, whatever kind of life you're talking about. You want as much data as possible so you can make the best informed choices. But sometimes on the fly or on a mission like Ethan Hunt, you just gotta figure it out. Now, your daily training to sharpen your mind, sharpen your body, day in, day out, should help you be able to navigate things better and figure it out. My core pillars for being a magnificent human being are basically 3 elements I try to hone every day. And that's to be as smart as possible, into intelligence, intellect, thinking, thoughts, all that, clear mind. Physically strong, we're talking strength, mobility, dexterity, right? Agility, stamina, durability, all these things. Daily, I work on these things. And the third one is financially empowered, right? Financially do well, have money coming in, making cash grow. These 3 elements, I feel, will help you navigate problems that come up. So when you get in a situation, you say, I'll figure it out. You will have the tools that will help you figure it out better. Now, I feel also that Ethan Hunt possesses all these tools and much, much more because he's always able to finish the mission. Now, in your life, with your missions, whatever they are, because you all have missions, quotation marks, that we need to complete and overcome, I feel it to be like Ethan Hunt. Train the body, train the mind, train the finances. And if you do that, you'll be closer to Ethan Hunt and closer to navigate and conquering impossible missions. You will make the impossible possible. So, ladies and gentlemen, it had been a while since I sat down with these Mission Impossible movies and Ethan Hunt. Now, I saw the new one a couple years ago, but I didn't really see it at the house to really sit down and really study it and analyze it. And I didn't watch them all in a row. I've watched them all in a row in the span of these last 2-3 weeks. And really, there's a lot of inspiration in these films, at least for me this time around. When I saw them previously, I didn't think like that, but I had a different mindset. But in 2025, Ethan Hunt is very inspirational, at least to me. And you might see the same thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, next podcast, I will talk about number 7 and number 8. I'll talk about Dead Reckoning and the Final Reckoning. In the next podcast, I've already talked about Dead Reckoning before, but I'll talk about it again. We're going to go ahead and close out this binge and talk about the last 2 films. And I'm going to have a guest as well. And we're going to go ahead and see how the final chapter of the Mission Impossible series, the final mission of Ethan Hunt plays out. Will he save the day? Of course he will. Maybe he will. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But you know one thing is for sure. No matter how it plays out, Ethan Hunt will give his all to accomplish the mission. Now, last thing. In your daily life, just give your all to try to accomplish what you got to accomplish. You may fail. You probably will fail multiple times, right? But just get up and keep going. Do not stop. So when you're on your deathbed and you're got to meet your maker, you can say, I gave my all. I tried my best to accomplish things I had to accomplish, to do what I had to do, to take care of my people, to take care of my family, to make myself a better human being. And even if you fail, when you're close to death, if you did all those things, in my book, you've lived a magnificent life. So I highly recommend you see Mission Impossible Fallout. I highly recommend you see all the Mission Impossibles. I highly recommend you go to the theater and see Final Reckoning. And I highly recommend when you live your life, just embody and be a little bit of Ethan Hunt, and your life might just be a little bit better. And this concludes the podcast. And until next time, we'll see you. Life is always a tightrope or a featherbed. Give me the tightrope. Edith Wharton. Till next time, it's Captain Peace.
The Captain Talks.